Steamies. Well, we've come to that one. We've come to the film that you all warned me about. The one that's called Misty Island Rescue. And because the last one went down well, where I got a couple of fellow Thomas enthusiasts in to talk about Hero of the Rails, I thought, we're going to do a little crossover with one of our other channels. So I asked my good friend Kev from the Gentle Dorks to join me for this one. Now, there is a reason why I asked him for this, so Kev, if you want to enlighten them as to why you've came on for this one.
Well, basically what it was is I asked people to give me the worst movies they've ever seen, and I would watch them from start to finish, and then I would review them. And you clicked onto this and said, there we go. And I wish I had never said it.
Yep, because I thought, if there's ever anything that's got great crossover potential, it is Misty Island Rescue.
Yes. Oh, it was...
Right.
Oh my God.
You're coming for this from a newbie's sense or a normie's perspective,
Yeah.
because we in the fan community know how bad this is. And I did warn you.
You did. I was warned.
I even bribed him with, with food and drink and said, this is going to be bad. This is your recompense and my way of saying sorry. I don't think you bought it at that point, how bad it was going to be.
I didn't, and I don't think it was enough.
Well, if I could, I would have gave you more. Just sadly, I didn't have the money on me at the moment. But yeah, so we're going to talk about Misty Island Rescue, and this will probably be more entertaining than the movie itself.
That would not be hard.
No, definitely not. In terms of the plot, did you understand it? Because it's a convoluted mess.
It was like 19 different stories.
Exactly.
Blended together at completely different points. There's no semblance of a structured story. There's no beginning, middle and end. It's just, here's what happened in an order that we've decided to put it together.
Yep.
And I've watched some terrible movies that has a beginning, a middle and an end. That has a story. The plot is driven forward. It's just terrible. This was terrible in completely other sense.
I did warn you that, you knew Thomas from like the classic era.
I did.
Like most of us, like your wife had even said, like, how come you're not watching the Ringo Starr one?
That's what I get told. Yep.
And it was because I've already covered that, and you can check them out in the playlist for the classic era and the hit era. But we've now moved on to what is dubbed in the fandom as the Sharon Miller era, and Sharon Miller was the writer of this. And
yes.
There were certain things that I'd warned you about with her writing. The rhyming speech.
Yep.
The overuse of alliteration.
Mm-hmm.
Did it soften the blow, or did it make it worse knowing it?
I think it made it worse knowing that I was going to have to sit and listen to all of this because when my kids were younger, they would watch things that had things like that, and it's like, oh my God, it's so annoying because it's made for like young to babies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I can understand that, but this wasn't for babies. This isn't for that age range. It's for a wee bit older. So they're past that stage of having the alliteration to help them understand speech. They're at a stage where they can understand it. So having that in, it's just completely condescending to the people that are supposed to be watching it.
Yep. And during this point, this is when it was getting geared towards a younger demographic. It was getting geared towards the babies and toddlers mark. But there's lots of ones, kind of like myself, who grew up with Thomas and still stayed with the fandom. I mean, I was away from the fandom at this point. I would have been in my 20s at this point. So it was past me at this point, and I thought, well, no point in me kind of watching it. But there were members of the fandom that did, and they really, really despised this film. Mm-hmm. And coming into this, as an adult, as a 36-year-old man with, with a family of his own,
mm-hmm.
I thought, would I be able to show my kids this? Because at the time of this recording, my kids are 5 years old. I think this is too dumb even for them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that my boys are dumb. They are actually diagnosed as geniuses, which we just found out recently. But I think they would watch this and they would not find it entertaining.
No. I mean, when my two were young, we would read the Thomas books to them. We'd put on Thomas for them. I can't remember what one it was, but they loved it. But it wasn't like condescending. It wasn't babyish. It's like, oh, here we go. We'll take you here. It's like, here's the story. Let's let it play out.
Yeah.
And this did not do that. It was just so bad.
Yeah, if you had to say that Thomas, like as we in the fandom say that, that it's not just for kids, this is not good evidence for that.
No.
It's definitely not. But at this point, they're going, right, we have a market now. This is what we have to essentially pander to. But this is why we loved the books in the classic era, because they knew that in order for the kids to keep getting this stuff, you had to appease the adults and keep them engaged, because they were the ones who had the money to buy the stuff.
Yeah. And they're the ones that are going to have to sit and watch it with their children.
Or read the stories to them at bedtime all the time. Which is something that, which is great moments. I mean, we're dads. We both would want to have those experiences with them. I wouldn't put this on for the kids because their attention span would just drop.
Yeah.
Straight away. It wouldn't keep their attention.
It was very hard for me to keep my attention with it. And like I said, I've watched terrible things. And I've sat and watched them from start to finish.
Yeah, be sure and check out Gentle Dorks to see some of the worst films that he has watched and will be coming up on his channel. If you can sit through films like, for example, you've just recently watched Suburban Sasquatch.
Yeah. It did take me a week to watch it, but I watched it from start to finish. Like I said I would do.
Yep.
I didn't say I would be able to do it in one sitting, but I'd done it. And I've got my notes, and it's just having to sit down and talk about it again. So, oh my God, I'm going to have to remember things from it.
Yep. But the point is, like, you were able to watch that, and now you've watched this. You've watched Misty Island Rescue. Would you go back and watch Suburban Sasquatch?
Over this, definitely. Because it's got a beginning, it's got a middle, it's got an end. Whereas this just didn't have any of that. There was no semblance of story. There's no plot. There's
the very loose plot. If we had to get, like, the key underlying theme through it, it's the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre is being built. They need this special wood called Joby wood.
Jobby.
Yeah. The second we saw the spelling of this, we're Scottish, we instantly both went, Jobby. For anybody that's not Scottish, figure out what Jobby actually is, and it's basically what we call this movie. They need this wood to get the Search and Rescue Centre made. Diesel drops it all into the ocean. They have to go to find it somewhere else. Going to the mainland, even though we basically get told by Hero it's only where you don't get it where he comes from, which is Japan.
Yep.
And last I checked, Sodor wasn't in Japan, or anywhere near Japan.
Nope.
So, of course, Thomas decides to go on going on this journey, but he can't come on the boat, and any rational thing would be, alright, wait till the next boat, maybe tomorrow. No, there is a tiny little raft with a section of track on it, which he's told is too rusty, don't go on it, but he decides to go on it because he makes good decisions, and that gets round your throat every second feckin' sentence.
And he doesn't make good decisions.
He definitely does not. And I found it particularly bad because the person that's telling him, it's rusty, don't go on it, he's a ginger. So once again, you're not listening to a ginger that's got the logical advice. It's something that is so bad that, I mean, if you want to watch the actual detailed analysis of this movie, like, go and check out ones like The Unlucky Tug or Peter Sam the Narrow Gauge Engine, Yellow Striker. Like, they all cover all the plot points of this. Like, this is one where I was just like, I have to do this because the fandom have asked. I can't do this on my own. I need to, like, if I'm going down, I'm taking someone else with me. And it was just there's so many issues with the story. Like, for example, like, the story with Diesel at the very start. You think that's going to have some bearing on the actual outcome of the plot?
Nope.
No. Doesn't have anything, doesn't it? There's no issues. It's basically just Thomas being a racist dick to Diesel and then being proven right that he is a racist dick and gets rewarded for being a racist dick.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's like, okay, so that's a great message to teach kids. Racism is okay.
We must be living in a Donald Trump era or
It's
something.
definitely what I could not understand it. I mean, I get the whole Steamies v Diesels thing, like as an allegory for racism. That's the kind of thing that's been drummed in all the way through the era up to this point. But I was just like, it's so ham-fisted and so not subtle in the slightest.
No.
He's over in Misty Island, and that's where we meet the logging locals.
That's right.
See? A normie what has this now ingrained in his brain. That's right, from Bash, Dash, and Ferdinand. Honest reaction, what did you think when you first saw them?
I thought it was Deliverance.
Yep. Or, what was the one you thought?
Oh, it was the
League of Gentlemen?
League of Gentlemen.
Yep.
He's not local.
It's a local shop for local people. I felt offended for every, like, country farmer and, like, it felt so racist.
Yeah, it was.
What? It was...
The complete stereotypes of that. They don't speak properly.
Yeah.
Whereas every farmer that I've met speaks properly.
Yeah.
They're not ooh-ar.
No, definitely not. And like, considering, like, you know, my missus, like, grew up on a dairy farm, I feel offended by association. Like, so they're finishing each other's sentences, especially Bash and Dash.
Yeah.
Ferdinand is just either that's right. I think throughout the whole movie, he says one...
I think it was about 3 sentences.
Yeah, only one of them was coherent.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, when they were stuck in the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
The tunnel that somehow, and this is something that really, like, it's been bugging me ever since the first time I watched it, because I watched it first on my own and then watched it again. So I did this twice for you. You're welcome. This tunnel that goes from Misty Island to Sodor. How big is that tunnel?
Yep.
Because we see how far away Misty Island is compared to where Sodor is. And it's got to be, like, a really decent trek.
It has to be, aye.
Has to be. Well, and from the way that it looks, it doesn't look like it goes... There's no other way it can go aside from underwater.
Yep.
Like, going underwater. So there's, like, a tunnel or somewhere underneath it. And if that's the case, how is there a light to get out to the daylight so Thomas can puff 3 puffs of steam? How is that possible? Like, the mind boggles.
It's the fact that the puffs of steam came from the middle of the island. So that means the tunnel had to start from the other side of the island to get to the opposite side of Sodor, because that's where their tunnel is, at the complete opposite side. So it goes down and round and under. Physically, it's not possible.
It's not. It's definitely not. There's so many things that's wrong with the plot. One of which that annoys all the fandom is that the Fat Controller sends 3 of his main engines on a boat to go and rescue Thomas along with himself.
Yep.
Now, Gordon is the express engine. There's still passengers that need to come to the feckin' island.
No, Thomas is missing.
No, Thomas is missing. Everything literally stopped. Literally, it's like the whole of Sodor shut down because one engine went missing. I mean, when one random cutaway scene when they're all kind of waiting at the search and rescue center and just basically say, yeah, Thomas is still missing, which happens a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and there was Hero, Stanley, Rosie, Percy, Henry, Edward, James, Gordon, Toby, Rocky, Harold. So there's there's close to like about a dozen to 15 engines roughly, just all there, who all have jobs to do. I mean, that's even including ones like Mavis and Salty, who have no business being at that point, because Mavis is meant to be at a quarry, Salty's meant to be at the docks. That's where he's meant to be.
But Thomas is missing.
So
with that.
They're
at the docks,
they're all
sitting going, Thomas is missing still.
They're all missing, so we have to go all the way to the search and rescue centre that's being built and just sit and feel sad. So crazy. It's like even the things like when the raft that has Thomas on it comes loose. If somehow you're on a raft that comes loose during this point, you would be absolutely bricking yourself. You'd be screaming for help. You would be like trying to do anything you could to try and fight the tide. You wouldn't just be like, help, help. Oh, this is actually really relaxing.
And then all of a sudden, he's at the island.
Yep.
Next to a set of rails that he just
rolls onto. And he's still in steam. He is in steam the full bloody time. How is that possible? And it's like, you couldn't even see these driver or firemen. I mean, that's something that's always been a thing. Mm-hmm. We've always been are these feckers sentient? Because there was no sense of realism from that. What? But they were starting to introduce CGI characters again,
Yeah.
like driver and fireman and stuff. So I'm like, not only is the engine missing, like, there's a driver and fireman at least that are been away from their loved ones for God knows how long.
Yep.
They need to eat. They need to have water. They need, or they will die. Well, and it's
But
just
they
like,
weren't there because it was only Thomas.
yeah, and
Because they were told that it's not safe for Thomas to go on, so they went home and then waited till the next morning, showed up, said, "Oh, Thomas isn't here
yeah.
because he's missing."
And how the hell has he been able to actually, get into steam then? Because there's no driver or fireman. It's, the mind just boggles with everything. Like, how dumb it is.
Yep.
It is so bad.
But Thomas doesn't make bad decisions.
That's what he was told. Yes. And
He makes good decisions.
yes, and I'm not even going to finish like the rhyme that he done because that was just ingrained in my head. The rhyming speech was extra bad.
Yeah, it was
Extra
it was
bad.
terrible.
Well, I don't get who in, like the writing staff or who like higher up maybe said, this is a good idea. Mm-hmm. Because it's really not.
It's not.
It's not. Like, it's what you want, if you want kids to, like understand like English and stuff, well, doing that type of thing can be a help, but it's not necessary.
No.
Especially in like what they watch content wise.
Exactly. I mean, 99% of children nowadays, from a very young age, are actually sitting watching things like this about programs that they've watched.
Yep.
And that's how they pick up language, just through regular speech, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
So this is just, like I keep saying, it's completely condescending to anybody that watches it.
One character that I liked being in it was Whiff. I've mentioned on the channel how much I like Whiff. He's scruffy, he's a wee underdog, specky like me. But can't rule him out. So I was glad to see him in it. However, his use in this, it really drives home the fact that in the fandom, we believe that the CGI era is a completely different timeline. Mm-hmm. So, like, you've had the seasons 1 to 12 in the model era, and it's like, okay, kind of stop that. And then we move into CGI, and it's like a new timeline because there's so many kind of continuity errors. If you tried to link them all, your brain would explode.
Yeah.
And Whiff would be the prime example of this because Whiff knows all about this tunnel to Misty Island,
Yes.
which the Fat Controller didn't know about because he was going to put his office in a tunnel.
Yeah.
And how he used to use this island to dump, like this tunnel for Misty Island to dump waste. None of the other engines even knew. They didn't even know about Misty Island until Salty told them close to the start of the thing. And even then, it was only Edward, Percy, Thomas and James that were at the docks when Salty was telling them the story. Right. Does this mean that Whiff is now like one of the elder statesmen of this railway? Did someone like put like an encyclopedia into his firebox?
They must have done because he knows everything. He knows how to get through the tunnel. He knows
He knows how
exactly what to do.
He knows how to get them out of the tunnel, and also somehow, and this is something that I've not seen mentioned a lot in reviews, and we clicked to this straight away. Somehow in this tunnel, where there is no turntable,
Single track.
and it's single track, they're somehow able to turn Whiff and Percy around to face the other way, coming back through the tunnel, while they have drove in towards them, and they were facing Thomas like,
Yeah, they were.
like
Yeah,
this.
yep.
And somehow it's been like, oh, turn around.
Yep. Let's go.
They were all that way. How was that even possible? The only
And
way,
they couldn't have went back out the tunnel because it had bricked itself in.
yeah, because later on, after they get out and they find out that the Fat Controller, James, Gordon, and Edward are all on Misty Island, they say the tunnel's blocked. That's why Thomas has to take the ship to go and get them.
But the ship had to come back because the mist had come down.
Exactly. The mist had come down and the timer for this light just came on. So random. For anybody that's aware, I'm actually filming at my parents' house for this one. So, yes, that was a bit odd. They have a timer, it came off, went on again, then came back off again. This is what makes these type of things fun. This is not the usual polished, edited stuff that I do for you guys. This is our proper tangent stuff that we do. This is the real core of what our media is about.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, so somehow the ships came back, and it's came back because the mist is down. It's too risky to go. But Thomas says, I'm going to go because I make good decisions.
No, you don't.
No, he doesn't. Because he's willingly going to sacrifice an entire ship of people They go back to Misty Island to take him over to Misty Island. One false move and that ship's going down like the feckin' Titanic.
Yep.
And
it's the fact that the ship was full because there was already a train on it.
Yeah.
And then Thomas couldn't get on. And yet the ship was able to get 3 over with the Fat Controller.
Yeah.
And then Thomas was able to go over and then come back with 4 engines.
Yeah. Somehow 4 engines made it back on one go.
But only one could go the first time.
Well, technically, the first time it was going to the mainland and it was Spencer that was on it. So Thomas went on the raft because raft was there for plot convenience. There's just so much of that convenient stuff that's going on, and it's just, well, it's all because, we need to put a plot here, we need to put a plot there, and it's fine if it's maybe done once or twice, and I think to kind of help move the story forward. But because it's so bitty, and so hard to kind of comprehend it all, your brain just rots.
Yeah.
As you're watching it.
It's the fact that it's like, oh, we need this to happen, so we'll make that happen there. So that we can say, oh, that's why this is happening.
Yes.
But if you've got a basic story, you don't need to put in something that says, right, we'll put that there so that people will be thinking about that. It's like, no, you let it happen fluidly. Here's the story. We'll build it from that. But there was nothing there to build it from.
Yeah, yep. And speaking of building, the random plot convenience that the Joby would was on Misty Island, which was only meant to be in Japan.
Yeah.
So you would think it should be in like in an Asian country. So how the heck it's growing over there, I do not know. And the whole fact is that, we counted this it's 3 flatbeds of Joby wood.
Yep.
That fall into the ocean. That ship was loaded with Joby wood, and somehow it was just 3 flatbeds of wood that were needed.
Yep.
And that was it. It scuppered the whole plan. What happened to the rest of the wood?
It's the fact that it was only three flatbreads. That's because I had some today. 3 flatbeds with 3 bits of wood.
Yeah.
Each. So that's only 9 bits of wood for a ship that was full with hundreds and thousands of bits of wood.
Yeah. As we
9 bits of went missing.
As we see in Scotland, it was Hoaching with Joby.
But 9 bits went missing. It's like, nah.
Yep.
Need to start again.
And that's it. That's it. The Solar Rescue Centre Search and Rescue Centre's done. Won't happen. That's it. And then, of course, you have another, we'll just say, merchandise, because that's what it was Captain, the sailboat. Did he have any point in it? Not really.
No.
It was just basically they took him out to go and look for Thomas.
Yep. In shallow water. Just up to his shins. Thomas, I can't see you. You're in shallow water. You're right at the shore. And it also makes me think something else. Like, Captain is there, right? So if they find out the Thomas is on Misty Island, instead of sending 3 engines over, they could have sent either 1 engine on the ship with Sir Topham. Yep.
Because he was in James. You could have just sent James over.
Yeah.
Or, if he was really insisting on going himself, you could just took Captain.
Yeah.
How they're able to see the puffs of steam from Misty Island. It is so far away.
Yeah.
So far away. The fact that, the camera has to actually, do it in a zoom shot so that the audience can see the puffs of smoke.
Yeah.
Percy must have, forget 20/20 vision, must have 120/20 vision. Mm-hmm. If he was able to see that.
That would be like us standing on Ayr Beach.
Yeah.
And seeing smoke coming off of Arran.
Exactly.
From a train. So, oh, there we go.
Yeah. Just that
Because it's about the same amount of distance. Like,
yeah.
It's a fair distance. You couldn't have a tunnel under that.
No, definitely not. I was really trying to rack my brains to think of things that I found positive about this. I don't like being that guy in the fandom that rants and raves about all the negatives. I do it if it's necessary, like this. But I do try and give it credit because I love Thomas. I love the fandom. We're all entitled to our opinions.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I always say. So I was trying to find things that I liked about it. Here are some of the things that I liked. I liked the opening music. Very Pirates of the Caribbean-esque. To the point where I actually thought they ripped it off.
I think they did.
No, I actually thought they just took it from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Just took it from Disney. That Mouse House would have been having a field day if they found that out. So I liked that. The opening shot, where Harold's coming into the Search and Rescue Centre, so it's an aerial shot, and you're seeing Sodor as it's coming down. That's a good shot.
Yeah.
I liked some of that. The CGI work, it's okay for when it was done. Like,
Yeah.
like Nitrogen Studios did it. Like, this is when they're still trying to figure out the CGI
Yeah.
era. This is still at the start because they've only done Hero of the Rails and season 13
Mm-hmm.
before this, so they've only had now a year or two, something like that.
That's not that bad. I mean, visually, it was good. For a full thing in CGI, it was fairly well done.
Yeah, it was done. It was done well. Again, that was the kind of ones that I noticed kind of for the get go that I liked. I wish the rest of the music was as good. Now, Robert Hartshorn does a lot of, like, you know, that the instrumental, incidental music in this part of the era, and most of the time he does a good job. So I'm not saying any of that was bad. It was the end song.
Yeah.
Well, I felt offended for every country music artist in the world. There's people in the fandom that like that end song, the Misty Island Rescue song, like fair dues. If you like it, well, again, we're all entitled to our own opinions. I didn't like it. But the worst part is it's going to be stuck in my bloody head all night. It's so infectious, like diphtheria.
Yeah.
The other thing that I liked was, and this is purely obviously for the fandom, is the post-credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
The post-credit scene where Diesel 10 is looking out and is, like, you know, doing the whole maniacal laugh thing. Now, that's the first time Diesel 10 has been seen in Thomas since Calling All Engines, where they butchered his character and made him like a nice Diesel, and I was like, oh my god, shit me. What? So this, I mean, I've not seen Day of the Diesels yet. I do know about it. We will get there. But,
I won't be here for that one, hopefully.
No, you've done your time. You're all right. I like how he seems to be presented. He seems to be more maniacal and scheming. Like in Thomas and the Magic Railroad, he was like proper kind of pantomime villain, but it worked because that was the way it was meant to be done. Well, and this he seems to be more like, you know, like scheming and cunning rather than like early mwahaha.
I just love how he was doing the laugh and then he goes, yeah.
I just get stopped.
I know. It's like you fade out on the laugh. But
Yeah.
It's like, yep.
I like that because it kind of subverted expectations.
It just turns into Scruffy. Yep.
Yep. And what was the other thing that you mentioned, like when we were like watching it, how the Logan Locals song was kind of like Cletus the slack-jawed yokel for the Simpsons?
It totally was.
Yep.
It's like even the tune was the
Yeah.
same, and it's like, am I watching The Simpsons here?
Yeah. And that's just me. Like, if you think about the two songs that the fandom actually like from this, the only things they can hold on to were technically rip-offs from other things.
It was.
The main theme is a rip-off from Pirates of the Caribbean, and the ending song is a rip-off from Cletus the slack-jawed yokel.
Yep. I mean, we sang along to it, and it worked to be Cletus the Slack-jawed yokel.
It really did.
That's where they got it.
We'll save you from that. We might do that in our own post-credit scene, but but yeah, when we did that, we were just like, oh my god, that actually is. What if you're not aware of that, like go and Google it. If we had to, like, you know, if we drank and we had to take a shot every time Ferdinand said that's right, we wouldn't have been able to do this. We would have been
I'd
on
be on the floor, aye.
Yeah, we'd be passed out.
That's right.
That's right. Oh my god. Well, I think I've gone delirious.
Oh.
Well, it was just
I think that might have helped, actually.
It probably would have. Well, that can be a drinking game for anybody that does drink in the fandom. Like, next time you watch Misty Island, take a shot every time Ferdinand says that's right. Not that we do encourage drinking responsibly, but to get through Misty Island Rescue, you might need it. I was trying to think of other things you could make for a Misty Island drinking game.
Thomas.
Every time there's rhyming speech.
Yep.
Every time Bash and Dash finish each other's sentences.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Anytime they say that Thomas is missing.
Anytime there is just a random cutaway to Sodor.
Yeah.
Well, just like we're not talking like, you know, where there's the intricate plot details. Well, we're talking about like when they would just go, Thomas is missing, and now back to Misty Island.
Thomas is still missing,
and now back to Misty Island. So just like that's what thing I noticed. There were just so many of those just pointless cutaways. Like, there was no need for it. It was just like to remind the audience, you know, Sodor's still here, but he's not doing anything. You could have just had the whole time of Thomas being on the island. It's like they even went, right, this is extremely annoying. We need a break.
Yeah.
Let's put in a random cut so that we can get a break from these annoying idiots. It's like I genuinely did think that was the only thing that Ferdinand actually said until I was like, hold on, he actually said some other stuff. Because if it was just like the only thing that he said, kind of like, I am Groot.
Yeah.
If it was just that, but he was trying to say other things, I could have maybe forgave it more. But no, I could have been like, okay, well, maybe that's all we can actually say. So it's up to the audience to interpret it. That would have been quite clever.
That's not how it was.
It was just they were trying to make the words "that's right" into a catchphrase, and that's not a catchphrase. It's not.
As if you want to sell T-shirts.
But then again, we do come from the wrestling where the word "yes" and "what" became
What?
exactly
What?
yes. Well, we're above that year where
Yeah.
we could get that on T-shirts and it was fine. But yeah, that's not the way to try and get a catchphrase going. That would just created so many annoying kids you would have wanted to beat the out of.
True that.
Overall thoughts on Misty Island Rescue?
It was not good. I wouldn't say it was bad, because I don't like saying that things are bad unless they are bad. But I would not watch it again. It's not something that was enjoyable. There's no plot. It's like with the superhero things, it's like, we need to get this out, we need to push that, and then they rush things, and then it's just terrible. And it seemed like that. It looked rushed with the story, because it's like, right, we need this Misty Island, Thomas goes missing on it. How do we do it? Wrongly is how they done it.
My kind of thoughts on it overall. Now, it's made with the best of intentions. At this point in the franchise's history, they're on a very aggressive schedule where it's basically a movie has to get made every year that ties in with the series that's coming out. They have to get certain new characters in to make more toys.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of meddling from higher ups and all this kind of stuff. And
You know what I feel about studio interference.
yes, there is an entire playlist on Gentle Dorks about his thoughts on studios and interference, and you all know my thoughts on Mattel. So we're all on the same wavelength for this. Well, but this wasn't Mattel. This was Nitrogen Studios, and Hit Entertainment was still on the scene. But it was the same type of principle. They were like ramming content out in such an aggressive schedule. Well, they had to get a movie made. They've basically had this brief of what they have to do. They've tried their best with it. I don't think it's not been made to intentionally piss anybody off.
I don't think it was, no.
I don't think so. And I don't think any movie really is. I think the only one I could maybe think is the fourth Matrix movie. I think that's the only one, because it was like the studio were going to make it regardless. So they came on board to do it, and they just essentially torched their own product.
Yep.
So I think that's the only one where I can really say, a movie's been made out of spite.
Yeah. But the reason they done that was so that no other sequels could be made.
Exactly.
But this was ours. You're trying to take it. We crapped on it. You can't do it anymore.
Well, at least not for another 20 years.
At least.
But again, I don't think this was made with any bad intentions. It was made to make children happy.
Yeah.
It's made to, entertain small children. It's not made for, guys like us. But there is where I think the problem with this franchise at this point in the franchise's history boils down to. You have to be able to make it something that can entertain all ages.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Railway series was based on. It grew with its audience. People that read the first book had the first book read to them when they were kids, by the time they got to the 26th book, they were adults.
Yeah.
Like 20 odd years, no, even longer than that, because it was 1945 and then it was in the 1970s that the next one came out. So, 56, so 30 odd years.
Yeah.
So they would be reading it to their kids by that logic, by that point. But the quality went with it.
Yeah.
It kept improving. This one, they just went, we have a target audience now. It's for babies and toddlers. Just pander to the lowest common denominator. And that's what annoys the fandom so much about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not Thomas's roots. That's not what it was meant to be. And that's what we just really don't like. And that's why when I got to this point in my series where I was like, okay, I have to get to this now, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I really want to skip past it. But I have a duty to my fans, who I really do appreciate that will watch this, and thank you so much, to deliver, what they want to see. They want to see my thoughts and my opinions about it. And my opinions are, they tried their best, it wasn't good enough, and you just kind of have to roll with it.
There's so many other things as well that fall under that, where it's like you'll be watching a series and it's great, you're loving it, and then it hits a wall and it doesn't know where it wants to go.
Yeah.
And for me, it seems that that's what's happened with this.
Yeah.
This is the wall hit until they find their feet again.
Yeah. And thankfully they do in later seasons and later movies. Like, just at this point, there was just no way out of the muck and the mire that they were in.
It seems like it was a good plan that Diesel dumped everything in the water then. It seemed to be that was where it should have been for a bit.
There were several points where we did think, right, if we stopped the movie here with a different ending, we'd be fine. The first one was Diesel goes over with the Joby Wood.
Yep, there we go.
What? The second one was Thomas is just left out at sea.
Yep, Thomas sinks to the bottom of the sea, end.
And Thomas, Bash, Dash and Ferdinand are buried alive in the tunnel and you never find them again, end. So yeah, there was at least 3 possible endings that would have been much darker, but would have saved us from this hell. We've got through it.
We got through it.
We got through Misty Island Rescue. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm going to need like a massive palate cleanser before I have to carry on with season 14.
Yep, I'm having to go watch some more bad movies. So.
Oh man, what? That's the joys of our fans and what they want.
Yep. What one of the next ones is Jaws 4.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now I'll be interested to hear your points on that and if it's better than this because they're both set at sea.
They are.
There we go.
Funnily enough, a lot of them are shark related, these bad movies.
You could just do like your own Shark Week.
I think I will.
Well, obviously for all the audiences that watch your channel onto mine, like if you're interested in any of the Thomas content, you can go to YouTube channel The Ginger Engine. Like for any fans of my channel that want to go to Kev's channel.
Well, you can catch me on Gentle Dorks, or you can actually catch me on Animation Station as well. There could be some potential for another crossover there.
There could be, but that would mean I would have to watch All Engines Go, and I really don't want to do that to myself again. Well, I had to do that for the experiment with my kids, and even then, that was a push.
Oh.
But again, like I say, there are plenty of other channels on Ginger Media. If you want to check them out, there's That Mental Ginger Show. If you like for mental health, if you like wrestling, there's Raw as Ginger. If you follow football, there's Low Ball. We have plenty of content to keep everybody entertained. So yeah, just watch the spaces. So. For my side, until next time, keep on chugging.
See ya.